Folks, grab your coffee, or your whiskey, depending on how much economic nonsense you've stomached this week, because we're diving headfirst into the UK government's latest masterclass in economic self-sabotage. I'm your host, the guy who's spent years warning you about the government's fiscal clownery, and today, we're tearing into Chancellor Rachel Reeves' grand plan to slash 10,000 civil servants while pretending AI is some magical fix for their policy-induced recession. Spoiler alert, it's not. So, buckle up, whether you're a finance bro crunching numbers or a regular Joe just trying to pay your bills, this one's gonna sting. On the surface, Chancellor Rachel Reeves' announcement to cut 10,000 civil service jobs ahead of her spring statement on March 19, 2025, might sound like a bold move to trim the fat and boost efficiency. But, as always here at Boss Economics World, we're not here for the government's PR spin. We're here to peel back the layers of this economic onion and expose the tears it's causing. And trust me, folks, this onion is rotten to the core. Reeves' plan, unveiled in a Sky News interview on March 23, 2025, is part of Labour's broader strategy to prioritise spending while demanding £2 billion, $2.6 billion, in cuts across the civil service. Her justification? The civil service ballooned during COVID, and apparently, it's time to right-size it. Oh, and don't worry, AI is going to swoop in and save the day, replacing human workers in roles like briefing and fraud detection. Sounds like a sci-fi utopia, right? Wrong. This is a textbook case of the government dodging accountability for its own mismanagement, scapegoating public sector workers, and papering over the cracks of a recession they helped create. Let's break this down, layer by layer, from the surface-level nonsense to the deep-rooted economic chaos. And, as always, we'll back it up with the latest data, real-world examples, and a healthy dose of Boss Economics World snark. Let's start with the most laughable part of Reeves' plan, the idea that artificial intelligence is going to seamlessly replace 10,000 civil servants and save the day. Oh, bless her heart. This is the kind of technocratic fantasy that only a politician who's never coded a line in their life could dream up. Sure, AI has its uses. Revenue and Customs, HMRC, is already using it to detect tax fraud, and bravo for that. But replacing human workers en masse with algorithms? That's not efficiency, that's a recipe for disaster. Here's the reality, folks, AI is only as good as the data it's trained on and the humans overseeing it. The UK government's track record on tech projects is, shall we say, less than stellar. Remember the NHS Test and Trace app during COVID? A £37 billion boondoggle that was supposed to be world-beating but ended up as a glorified paperweight. Or how about the Post Office Horizon scandal, where faulty software wrongly accused hundreds of innocent postmasters of fraud, ruining lives? And now, Reeves wants us to believe AI will magically handle complex civil service tasks like policy briefing or fraud investigation without a hitch? Pull the other one, Chancellor. And let's not forget the human cost. Cutting 10,000 jobs isn't just a number, it's 10,000 families facing uncertainty, 10,000 fewer people paying into the economy, and a ripple effect of reduced consumer spending that could deepen the recession. According to the Office for National Statistics, ONS, UK unemployment is already at 4.3% as of December 2024, and consumer confidence is tanking, with the GfK Consumer Confidence Index hitting 21 in January 2025, its lowest since the post-COVID recovery. Slashing jobs now, in the name of efficiency, is like throwing a drowning man an anvil instead of a life preserver. Now, let's dig a little deeper into the real issue here. The UK economy is in the toilet, and it's not because of too many civil servants writing briefings. It's because of years of government mismanagement, fiscal irresponsibility, and a refusal to address structural problems. Reeves is trying to pin the blame on public sector bloat, but let's look at the facts. First, the economy is barely crawling. The Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, forecasts GDP growth of just 0.7% in 2025, down from an already anemic 1.1% in 2024. Inflation, meanwhile, is stubbornly high at 3.1% as of February 2025, well above the Bank of England's 2% target, thanks to soaring energy costs and supply chain disruptions. And don't even get me started on borrowing costs. UK 10-year gilt yields are hovering at 4.2%, making government debt more expensive to service than ever. Why is this happening? Because successive governments, both Tory and now Labour, have kicked the can down the road on critical investments in infrastructure, education, and green energy, while wasting billions on short-term gimmicks. Take the HS2 rail project, for example. Initially budgeted at £33 billion, it ballooned to over £100 billion before being scaled back to a glorified shuttle between London and Birmingham. Or consider the £13 billion in energy subsidies handed out in 2022-2023 to prop up failing energy firms, only for household bills to skyrocket anyway. And now, with the fiscal headroom Reeves inherited from her October 30, 2025, budget completely wiped out, what's her solution? Not to rethink failed policies, not to tackle corporate tax evasion, which costs the UK £35 billion annually, according to Tax Justice UK, but to cut jobs and services. Brilliant. It's like trying to fix a leaking dam by poking more holes in it. Here's where we get to the core of the issue, folks. This isn't just about 10,000 jobs or £2 billion in cuts. This is Austerity 2.0, a reboot of the same failed playbook that tanked the UK economy in the 2010s. Back then, George Osborne's austerity measures slashed public spending by £100 billion over a decade, decimating local councils, the NHS, and social services. The result? A lost decade of growth, with UK GDP per capita growing by just 0.5% annually from 2010 to 2019, compared to 2.2% in the pre-2008 decade, according to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, IFS. Reeves' plan to prioritize spending while cutting jobs and services is just austerity with better PR. And the data shows it doesn't work. A 2023 study by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, found that austerity measures in advanced economies typically reduce GDP by 0.5% for every 1% of GDP cut in public spending. In the UK's case, with Reeves aiming for £2 billion in savings, about 0.08% of GDP, that's a potential GDP hit of £1.2 billion, hardly the efficiency she's promising. Worse, these cuts come at a time when the UK desperately needs public investment to stimulate growth. The World Economic Forum's 2024 Global Competitiveness Report ranks the UK 28th in infrastructure quality, behind countries like Spain and South Korea. Meanwhile, the Confederation of British Industry, CBI, estimates that skills shortages are costing the UK economy £63 billion annually in lost productivity. But instead of investing in roads, schools, or training programs, Reeves is betting on AI and job cuts to magically fix the problem. Good luck with that, Chancellor. Need more proof that this approach is doomed? Let's look at some real-world examples. Take Greece during the Eurozone crisis. From 2010 to 2015, the Greek government, under pressure from the EU and IMF, slashed public sector jobs and spending by over 25%. The result? Unemployment soared to 27%, GDP shrank by 25%, and the country entered a depression that lasted nearly a decade. Sure, the UK isn't Greece, but the principle is the same. Cutting public sector jobs and services in a weak economy doesn't boost efficiency, it kills demand, kills growth, and kills hope. Or how about closer to home? In 2018, the UK's own universal credit rollout, a tech-driven efficiency project, left tens of thousands of claimants without payments for weeks, pushing many into poverty. The National Audit Office called it a failure of basic management. And now Reeves wants to double down on tech-driven cuts. It's like watching someone burn their house down and then hand them a bigger match. So, what's the solution, you ask? Here at Boss Economics World, we don't just roast bad policy, we serve up real fixes. First, ditch the austerity rerun. Instead of cutting jobs, invest in them, especially in high multiplier areas like green energy, where every £1 spent generates £2.80 in economic activity, according to a 2024 report by the Green Alliance. Second, crack down on tax evasion and close loopholes, which could raise £35 billion annually without raising taxes on ordinary people. Third, fix the structural problems, like skills shortages and crumbling infrastructure, that are actually holding the economy back. But no, folks, don't hold your breath. This government would rather blame civil servants and hide behind AI fairy tales than do the hard work of governing. And that, my friends, is why we're stuck in this economic mess. Well, there you have it, folks, another episode of Boss Economics World, where we call out the government's economic clownery so you don't have to. If you're as fed up as I am with Reeves' recession roulette, smash that like button, share this video with your finance brothers and your barista, and leave a comment telling me what you think of this AI for jobs nonsense. And hey, if you're new here, hit subscribe, we're here every week, roasting bad policy and toasting hard truths. Until next time, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and whatever you do, don't trust a politician with a calculator. See ya.